Imagine you're a doctor in 1726. You've just witnessed a woman in labor. She's pale, sweating, writhing in pain. She screams, and then, with your own two hands, you help deliver, not a baby, but a rabbit. You don't know what to think. You're horrified, confused, but also intrigued. Could it be true? Could a woman really give birth to rabbits? Well, according to half of England's medical establishment at the time, yes. Welcome to History's Hidden Weird, the podcast that dusts off the strangest, most unbelievable true stories the history books left in the footnotes. I'm your host, Quinn Strange. And today, we're diving into one of the most absurd and disturbing medical hoaxes in British history. This is the tale of Mary Toft, the woman who convinced the world she gave birth to rabbits. Mary Toft was nobody special. She was a poor, illiterate peasant woman living in Godalming, Surrey, in southern England. She worked in fields. She had kids. She lived a hard, ordinary life. But in September of 1726, Mary claimed something extraordinary had happened. After suffering a miscarriage, she said she started experiencing strange movements in her womb. And soon after, she began giving birth to parts of animals. At first, it was just odd pieces, organs, tissue, things that might have been dismissed as infection or delusion. But then, things escalated. She allegedly gave birth to an entire rabbit. And that's when the doctors got involved. The first medical man to examine her was John Howard, a local surgeon. He was skeptical at first, until, he claimed, he saw it with his own eyes. He reportedly witnessed Mary deliver several stillborn rabbits. Not parts. Whole rabbits. Howard was stunned. He began writing letters to other doctors and noblemen. He preserved the rabbit remains in jars. He wanted people to see what he had seen. Soon, the news reached King George I, who was either horrified or entertained enough to send his own men to investigate. Two royal surgeons, Nathaniel St. Andre and Samuel Molyneux, traveled to Surrey to examine the woman firsthand. And what did they report? That Mary Toft had, in fact, given birth to multiple rabbits in front of them. St. Andre even performed dissections and declared the rabbit lungs had been inside her womb. Let's pause here. Because this is where things go from bizarre to utterly bonkers. You might be wondering, how could anyone believe this? But let's remember, in 1726, medicine was a strange mix of superstition and science. Germ theory didn't exist. Microscopes were primitive. People believed in maternal impressions, the idea that a mother's emotions or experiences could physically alter her unborn child. If a woman was frightened by a hare, for example, some believed her baby might be born with a rabbit's features. So when Mary Toft claimed she'd been startled by a rabbit in a field shortly before her miscarriage, some physicians saw that as plausible evidence. The newspapers went wild. Pamphlets spread the story. Crowds gathered around her house. Everyone wanted to see the rabbit woman. Mary Toft became a celebrity. A very, very strange celebrity. But not everyone was convinced. Enter Sir Richard Manningham, a respected obstetrician, and Dr. James Douglas, a skeptical anatomist. Manningham watched Mary carefully, and noticed that while she kept giving birth to rabbits, her abdomen showed no signs of normal pregnancy. He also noticed something else: the rabbits appeared to be freshly killed. Not fetuses. Not even stillborn. Just dead rabbits. They hatched a plan. Manningham told Mary she would need a surgical operation to examine her uterus. That was the breaking point. Mary cracked. She confessed it had all been a hoax. Mary had been inserting rabbit parts, and sometimes whole rabbits, into her own body and pretending to give birth to them. Let that sink in. This wasn't sleight of hand. This was full-on, body horror-level performance. And it was made possible by her husband, her mother-in-law, and even a local butcher, who helped smuggle rabbits into the house. So why would anyone do this? Money. Fame. Desperation. Maybe all three. Mary was poor, her miscarriage had left her unwell, and she lived in a society where women, especially poor women, were invisible unless they performed miracles or horrors. This hoax brought her attention, gifts, visits from nobles, even the king's interest. For a few months, she was the most talked about woman in England. But the consequences were brutal. After her confession, Mary was arrested for fraud and sent to prison. There was public outcry. People felt duped. The medical establishment was humiliated. Nathaniel St. Andre, the king's own surgeon, became the laughingstock of London. His reputation never recovered. Pamphlets ridiculed him with titles like The Anatomist Dissected and A Short Narrative of an Extraordinary Delivery of Rabbits. As for Mary, she was held in Bridewell prison for several months but never formally charged. Eventually, she was released and faded back into obscurity. She lived quietly and died in 1763, poor, anonymous, and very much not surrounded by rabbits. So what can we take away from this grotesque tale? First, that people will do wild things for attention, especially when they feel invisible. Second, that even the experts can be duped when their own biases and scientific hubris blind them. And third, that history isn't just full of wars and kings and treaties. It's also full of women stuffing rabbits into themselves to pull off the weirdest con in medical history. It's uncomfortable. It's absurd. It's human. Mary Toft's story is one of deception, desperation, and belief in pseudoscience, and spectacle in the sensational. And maybe that's why it still resonates today. Because in an age of clickbait, misinformation, and viral hoaxes, Mary Toft feels eerily modern. She didn't have social media. But she still managed to convince the world of a lie, using nothing but dead rabbits and a very committed act. This has been History's Hidden Weird. I'm Quinn Strange. And the next time someone tells you a story too weird to be true, remember Mary Toft. And maybe ask to see the rabbit. If you liked today's episode, leave a review, share with your weird history-loving friends, and hit follow. Have a strange story you want us to cover? Comment below and we will see what we can do. Thanks for listening. Stay curious. Stay skeptical. Stay weird.